Alright, so today I'm going to go over some of the products that I use while I'm oil painting. Right now I'm just going to go over things that I particularly use just for oil painting. I use a lot of different products for different types of mediums, but some people have asked, what I use particularly for oil painting, so I'm going to go over that right now. One of the things I use for my paintings is the Monarch Brushes from Winsor Newton. They're a synthetic fiber, and I really like the way that they deliver the pigment across the canvas. They don't show any of the brush strokes really. They're really smooth, so that's why I like this brand the most. Whenever it comes to some of the more detailed work, I use the Princeton Select brushes. They say that they're used for oil paints. They say that you can use them for oil, watercolor, and acrylic. I really feel they don't really fit well for oil paints just because they ruin really quickly whenever you're using them with your oil paints. It has to do with it whenever you're washing them, and then whenever you go to use them again, they don't exactly get all of that pigment out. So I feel that, as soon as I can find some smaller Monarch brushes, then I'll probably use that more for my detail work. When it comes to my paint, I go ahead and I use Winsor Newton Artist Colors. I was using cheaper brands before, and I would use bigger tubes, but then I found that the pigment wasn't as vibrant. Also, when I was using the bigger tubes, over time the tubes themselves would start to crack and break, and then it would ruin my oil paint. So getting that big tube didn't really help me out at all. When it comes to actually mixing your paints, I use a palette knife. You want to use a palette knife whenever you're mixing your paints and not your brushes. You'll end up eating your brushes. The brushes will start to become really brittle and frayed. So you really want to use a palette knife. Also, it delivers the pigment more evenly. You're not going to get those weird patches of some of the pigment that you mixed in with it. So I use a palette knife. So that's definitely something that you want to use. It doesn't have to be a really expensive one. You just need to use one so that way you're not ruining all your products. So I use refined linseed oil as a medium with my oil paints. I was using liquid, but then I found that whenever I was going back to a painting later on, those areas where I used the liquid, it became really cloudy and it just didn't show a lot of the detail. So I try to use the linseed oil only. I try to stay away from any quick dryers. I just use maybe like several paintings that I'm working on at the time to kind of work on while I'm doing all of that. Sometimes I use turpentine to go ahead and get some of that pigment out of my brushes, but I try not to use it as my primary cleaning source. So this is also by Winsor Newton. For mixing my oil paints and putting my pigment out, I use a disposable palette. I use the Gray Matters. I really like the way that the gray really shows the pigment, what you're using. I use a lot of gray tones anyway, so it's really nice to see what those pigments are going to look like in the finished product. I went ahead and I sprung for the bigger palette. They have smaller ones, but I got this one since I like to arrange my paints by tones. I'll put my red tones here, my really warm, then I'll go into neutral, and then I'll go into the cooler ones. And whenever you open it up, so this is what it looks like. So it's kind of shiny surface, so it's easy to mix. It's really great for oil colors, acrylics, wash, just about everything you can use this on. Of course, I have painter's tape to clean up the edges of my canvases so that way I'm not getting paint everywhere. I also use this to secure down my palette so that way I don't accidentally throw it on the floor. I'm really clumsy, so having that secured down is really important. I use gloves every time I oil paint. One of the things that people don't really talk about is how oil paints are really dangerous for you. They have real pigments in them, which can be really, really toxic, especially whenever you're working with solvents. As you start to use solvents into your oil colors, that can actually seep into your skin if you have any cuts, which can cause nerve damage. So I want to be around for quite a bit of time, so gloves are definitely something you want to invest in. I also have these blue shop towels. I use these for any cleanup. These are really great because they're reusable and they have a lot more longevity. They're really, really tough. You can actually pull on it a little bit. and they don't really tear, so these are a really great thing to have around.
Thank you for watching my channel. Be sure to go ahead and press that subscribe button. You can find me on social media on the links below, and I will see you guys again soon.